Going to start today with a little, I don't know, tangling tip that's not really about tangling per se. There are these pencils. Ever the art supply collector I am, that Zentangle HQ uses. The little black Zentangle graphite pencil is made by General's Pencil Company. I'm going to go ahead and switch to my video camera. Here we go. Now I have to pin myself. There we go. And Alex, you probably need to mute yourself or your face will keep popping up, and you may or may not want to be in the film. Anyway, these pencils are pastel chalk pencils. You know the little white pencils that we have? They're made by, there's Becky. They're made by Generals as well. These pencils, and you can buy them in sets, are made with pastel chalk. And so there are all of these cool colors. And it feels, the thing that's interesting about working with pastels and chalk is that it feels different on the paper from the graphite pencil or the colored pencils. And so you can, I don't know, you can make it really blend out pretty light. Like here, I just shaded it with the blue pencil and then blended it out with the tortillon. And then you can also go back over them much more easily with the micron pens or even the colored pencils. So you don't have that slick feeling that you get from colored pencils. So I'm just going to show you a little bit. Let's say I wanted to shade this little puppy green. I've got this green bice, whatever bice is. And I can just go ahead and shade this like that and lay some of that chalk down. And then I can get my tortillon and really pull that out. You can really pull it out. You probably should have a new tortillon for every color family. But I think I've told you, you can always use an old coarse emery board, or you can use sandpaper and just kind of pull them this way, and that kind of cleans that chalk off of there. And these also they have erasers on them. These General's pencils do. And so you can even erase a little bit if you want to. Now, General's is not the only company that makes pastel pencils. There are quite a few that I looked at on Amazon and at Blick as well. And they're probably all pretty good. Some are more expensive. They may be very, very fine pastels. These are pretty good. And some may be a little coarser, I don't know. And there may be different colors that you like better in other things, but it's just kind of interesting to work with these. You can get bigger sets or smaller sets. I don't know that you need to get a huge set because, well, I don't know. This one doesn't have yellow exactly, but let's say I wanted to do it to have this go in even to a little bit more olive color. I can use that and then work this tortillon, blend it in real nicely. So there's that. Pastel pencils, and you can sharpen them just like a regular pencil. And they'll more or less wash out, I guess, as well as anything does. So if you remember, this is what we did last week. We had Nipah, Currant, Tortuga, Tidings. So here we are again. Moving into this week, one more thing I was going to show you, since it's sort of show and tell time. I've made quite a, well, not quite a few, I've made some more bookmarks. So here's one. I kind of like this one I made with the pastel pencils, and then I used gold. I'm going to take a second and show you the gold that I use. Let's see here. I use this Fine Tech, and it has different kinds of gold, and you put it on with a brush, and so you can really control the thickness of the gold. If you wanted to put something like here, a very fine gold line, you can control that much better. And these are really not terribly expensive. And I've been using this for quite some time. So I think this is probably a lifetime supply in here. This one I had done a few weeks back. I was working on these border patterns on the bookmarks. Here's another one I made. It's called this really great name that I forgot to write on the back. It's not really done yet, so maybe I'm not gonna. This one is Arial. It's a border pattern. And this one's called Scarabo, and they say it's in the beginner section, but I personally had a lot of trouble with it, so I'm not gonna try to teach it to you. But this is a nice one. Anyway, we made this, I think, I don't know, maybe I made this after class. Anyway, it uses Huggins in a long strip on the bookmark. Now that I've shown you that one, I'm going to show you this one. This one is where we're going today. I made this after I did this one. I saw a coloring book on the internet about Christmas trees that was just these tree shapes, and they had put some lines and things in it. And then you could color them with markers or whatever. And I thought, oh, that's a neat deal. And so I crammed all these little trees in here. And I've put a different one of these kind of texture patterns on each tree. And so this was the first try on that. And then I remembered last year that I gave the trees, I'd seen somebody give the trees a little bit more personality and color. And so I used the chalk, and then I added gold and some white dots. And I think that turned out pretty cool. For those of you who, like me, want to tangle Christmassy things at this time of year, we can do that. And I think, I don't know if I've told you that in the next couple of weeks, actually on the 14th of December, I'm going to teach my first live Zentangle class at St. Christopher's Episcopal Church in Fort Worth as part of their Advent program. And I'm going to pretty much teach that lesson of praying using these as prayer cards, and just do some very simple, I think I may do 3 shapes like this, and then we can put some of the very simple and easy to learn things in the trees, and then color them a little bit. And I think that'll work. So today, do you wanna draw the trees on a card first? So you have that to, I would change these up, and I can just do that right here. I have only 5,000, not quite that many white cards over here. Now, if you want to do a bookmark, we could, you have the paper there, we could do them that way. Or you can take the square tile. The way I did these, since this is Zentangle inspired art, is I used this. Boys and girls, when you're doing Zentangle inspired art, at least I think that it's not quite the same as that meditative tangling where you want to just completely zone out. You're a little bit more mentally engaged. Although once we get the trees drawn, then we can add the patterns, and that can be the part that we zone out on. So on this card, let's see. I don't like that shadow there. Let's see. Do that. So I'm going to put kind of a snowy horizon line, and I think I will just go for 7 trees rather than, what have I got over here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I'm kind of going to go for this little shape of a tree. So I think I'll start right here and kind of make the tree. And then I'm going to put a little trunk and maybe come behind it a little bit. And I may put this one higher and bigger. So. And remember, this is in pencil. So you can change it. And if you want to use an eraser, I'm not the Zentangle police. Let's see. You probably want to put down the things you want in the foreground first. And naturally. There's too many of them go in that direction, I think. Okay. So I'll put one here. It might be fun also to put something like this on a bijou. Just maybe one little tree or 3 little trees. And you can give those away. That doesn't look quite as balanced as I'd like. So maybe I'll just make it fatter over here. I don't know. Maybe I'll make it straighter. That maybe. Point them a little more. What I usually do when I start something like this is I will then put it aside for a while and come back to it. So sketch some stuff in. Let's lay this over to the side, whatever you're going to do, whether it's going to be a bookmark like this or like this. Maybe you just want 3 or like this, or even more fun might be to take the trees, and do them this way and have a bunch of little trees along like that. In fact, I was thinking about Let me get what I was starting to work on. This, I don't know if you can see very well. This card is the right size for my, well, what do you call it, banner on Facebook. So I can give you all the dimensions if you're interested. It'll have to be later. I'll maybe have to put it in the bottom of the thing. So I sort of began to sketch in these trees. Horizon line there. And they'll be bigger. They'll probably have more decorations on them. And then there'll be some silver and gold and whatever. And then that can sit at the top of my Facebook page. And it fits that, I don't know, so many pixels by so many pixels. The ratio is right. That's kind of a fun way to take this one simple shape and use it in all kinds of different ways. And then with our patterns that we're beginning to accumulate, what I'm seeing here and kind of heading toward maybe is for you to be able to have maybe 4 different cards, and we can maybe make more of them later on if this works for y'all, of the tangles that we love, we plan to use a lot. I'm gonna fill this in with poke leaf. I already put Muka here, but then there's some new ones too. These are all very similar, and I may do those later, or it depends on, I don't know. These just all seemed kind of bland. Sometimes that's what you want. But they did end up looking pretty good on the trees. So let's today then, any questions, comments at this point? All right. Zentangle card. My little document camera isn't a big fancy one. If I want to change the focus on it, I just have to do it manually. Let's see if that, yeah, that's pretty good. All right. So we're going to call this part our actual meditating part. So I'm going to hit the bowl. There we go. And let's think about what we're grateful for. Okay. So let's put a dot in each corner. And a dot between each of those dots. And a dot in the middle. And then let's pick up a micron. I'm going to use the 01 in black. If you want to use a different color or different size, feel free. Because we're just going to put some patterns down. And of course, the first one is one of our favorites, Huggins. Yeah. And we're going to draw our arch, our kind of flat C shape right there. And we can turn our tile and across from it and draw that.
You've moved your card up. It's hard to see.
I did, yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. And now I'm going to aura the inside of each of these sections going this way. And now we can come around and do the end caps. Aura these with the same width as the other auras. Okay. So we've just done a tangle that we are all familiar with. So now let's do one that may be new, although chances are good you have scribbled this on a notebook somewhere. Basically, we're going to make a wavy line and then aura that line, both sides of that line. And then we're going to turn our tile another way, turn our tile a quarter turn, make another line and aura it that way. These, I may have put a little more space between them than, I don't think you have to be real exact about it. Here is a tree that I used that on, and it sort of looks like a net has been thrown over it in a graceful way. So we'll just put it in our bag of tricks and see what happens. So pick one of these. I'm gonna go ahead and do this in pencil. ORLIQUE. And then just make a kind of wavy line that way. And then let's aura that line. And if your aura isn't perfect, so much the better. It'll be more interesting. We can aim for the exact same width, but it's all good. Whatever happens. Whenever you have to stop a line, but you want it to seem like it's continuous, once you stop, you can go back and do that takeoff and land business. So we can kind of come here and take off. And we can keep moving the pen and then lift it up. And then we can turn our tile and come back down. And once you get the hang of it, you can make it look as though that you didn't stop and turn your tile in the middle. And then you can turn your tile and finish the other half. I like to draw my auras toward my drawing hand. I don't like to draw it on the other side where my hand kind of covers it up. I tend to get better auras if I do it that way. Okay. Actually, I think this is kind of neat, just like it is. Well, let's go ahead and do the second part. I'll wait until you all are looking up and look like you're finished. Y'all done to start the second part? Okay, good. So I think I'm gonna kind of come down that way. So on mine, you just kind of find a way where it crosses the lines a little bit more than not crossing the lines. I guess what I'm saying is we probably don't want to be auraing parallel to things. We want to be crossing them, if not at a 90-degree angle, at least at some kind of angle. And once we have that line down, we can start auraing again. Okay. All right. I haven't really tried it yet, but I wonder what it would look like if you use two different colors crossing each other. Might be kind of interesting. Just a thought. Okay. Let's fill our next piece with something we already know, and that would be mucas. And we're just gonna maybe start with a big one. And then put one behind. So a lot of these. I'll keep doing this. I need to go check on something in the other room. Okay, I'm back. So by now you've probably got all this filled in with muca. You can see here kind of how I was doing it. With something like muca, it's often a lot of fun to just let it go wild a little bit and go outside the bounds. Okay. And maybe even the clock is ticking. Let's move on to the next one. You can go ahead and put muca right here. And the next one is called radix. RADDOX. Don't ask me. I have no idea where the name came from. But we're going to end up with something that looks like this. Again, we start with kind of a excuse me. Okay. So we sort of make this look like what's his name? It's not Charlie Brown's shirt, it's Linus's shirt.
It is Charlie Brown.
Oh, it is Charlie Brown's shirt. Okay. And so we leave wide spaces between these auras. And then we come back and aura these lines, but very narrow. You could probably do the same with wavy lines instead of the pointed zigzags if you wanted to do that. But what we're going to do now is alternate patterns. And so for every other one, we're just going to take our old friend auraing and aura some vertical lines. And then leave one of the spaces blank and come down and do the same thing like that. Okay, once you've got all that done, we're just going to go in and put some dots. Now, of course, if you put this on your tree, it'd probably be fun to color these in with different colors and use a lot of gold or metallic pens. Okay. So there we've got an interesting, a more interesting pattern because of the variation in it, and one that we can fiddle with. We can use 2 or 3 different colors. We can shade these differently. We could do the shading such that this seemed like it was in shadow. And then this one was in shadow. So you have kind of a peak and a valley there. So there's all kinds of different things you can do with this to make it even more interesting than it already is. Very easy to do, very simple. You can make the lines wider apart, closer together. And I suggest you try that. Having all these little trees, or maybe even bigger trees, you can maybe even use the same tangle on all the trees. Maybe if you did like here, use the same tangle, but color it and shade it in different ways on each tree and see, begin to play with the patterns more. I'm sure you have nothing else to do during the day than just play with the patterns. So I do understand that for some of you, this is it. This is all the tangling that happens. But I'm hoping you have a little time to do more. All right, there's one more hole on this one. And on that, I was going to put poke root. No, I was going to put poke leaf. Let's see, L-E-A-F. So I was going to start down here and just tangle my old friend poke leaf. And then you don't have to put the flap over, but it's often kind of interesting to make the flap. And then you can shade it in a little bit there if you want. I didn't set out intending to make these poke leaves look like soldiers standing in parade vest, but apparently that's the way they decided to let themselves be formed. Okay. Okay. You've finished with the pen work. You might pick up your pencil and tortillon and do a little shading. I don't know if I ever taught you this trick, but if you want the shading to be much darker, you might want to go ahead and just pick up, after you've done the graphite, you might want to pick up a colored pencil and get in there and really go for it. And you can darken that shading much more evenly and darker intensity with a colored pencil. Also, on these tree trunks, it occurred to me later, but if you can cast some kind of shadow on the ground around them, that might also be good. Make it look like they're out there in the snow. Like that. So our time is about up. Let's see, I'm going to put this here. So far, we have gathered 8 patterns that could easily, if we just remember them, become ones that we can do from memory and kind of cover a whole space with them, fill in with it. And then you can make something like that. Maria talks about the patterns, the different patterns having a color of their own, irrespective of whatever pigments, various other pigments you might use. And I can certainly see that when you think about it. Look at these. These are all just very even gray, kind of, whereas this has a whole different feel to it. This has a different feel. This does. So by looking at these texture patterns, or creating textures with things that are not normally things we would call texture patterns, like these two, but if we put enough, they begin to feel like a texture. I don't know. This can begin to look more like colors. This is a very light color, and there's a medium, and here's a dark, and so forth. All right. Well, I've really enjoyed being with you all, and now I'll need to get up in the morning and start thinking about what I'm going to throw at you next week. So take care, folks, and do please put some of your work up on our little Facebook page so we can all go, wow, that's so cool. Because I know you're doing cool stuff. Okay, take care, folks.
Thanks, Kay. Good night.
Good night.